He just lost the grip in his own hand 4 days before the biggest tournament of his life. Scottie Scheffler is one swing away from history. Brooks Koepka can barely hold a golf club. And one of the most promising young stars in the sport just had to walk away from his dream in tears. This week, the US Open is supposed to be golf's biggest celebration. Instead, it has turned into a crisis. By the end of this video you will know exactly what is going wrong for the PGA Tour right now, why some of the biggest names in golf are walking into Shinnecock Hills under a cloud, and why this might be the most chaotic major championship in years. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel breaks down golf drama before anyone else does, and trust me, what you are about to hear in the next 30 minutes is going to leave you stunned. So subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get into it. Here's the thing nobody is talking about yet. One of the biggest stars in this sport is walking onto the course this week with an injury so strange that even his own doctors cannot agree on what it actually is. Stick around, because in about a minute you are going to hear exactly what happened to him, and why it has the entire golf world holding its breath. It is June 18, 2026. Shinnecock Hills Golf Club, out on Long Island, New York. This is the 126th US Open, one of the oldest and most respected golf courses in America, a place that has hosted this tournament 5 times since 1896. 156 players are walking onto this property this week, and every single one of them knows that Shinnecock does not forgive mistakes. The wind off the Atlantic does not care who you are. It does not care how many majors you have won. It punishes everybody equally. And that reputation is exactly why this week was supposed to be about one man's chase for history. Instead, it has become about who can even survive the week physically and mentally. Let's start with the story that should be the only headline this week, because under normal circumstances, it would be. Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, has a chance to do something only 3 men in the history of golf have ever done. He has already won the Masters twice, in 2022 and again in 2024. He won the PGA Championship in 2025. He won the Open Championship in 2025. The only major missing from his collection is the US Open itself. If he wins this week, he completes the career Grand Slam. Gene Sarazen did it. Ben Hogan did it. Tiger Woods did it. And Scottie Scheffler, at the absolute peak of his powers, has a real chance to join that list. To make it even more dramatic, the final round of this tournament falls on Father's Day, which also happens to be Scheffler's 30th birthday. Imagine that. Turning 30 on Father's Day, with a chance to complete one of the rarest achievements in the history of the sport. That is the story golf wanted this week. That is the story that should be dominating every headline. But it isn't, because something else has completely hijacked the conversation. Just days before the tournament, panic broke out, and it centers on a man who has won this exact tournament before, on this exact golf course. Brooks Koepka. 5-time major champion. 2-time US Open winner. And one of those 2 US Open titles came right here, at Shinnecock Hills, back in 2018. So you would think this would be a homecoming story for Koepka, a chance to relive his glory days on the course where he became a legend. Instead, what happened to him over the last week has thrown his entire tournament into doubt, and honestly, it is one of the strangest injury situations we have seen in golf in years. Here is what happened. Last weekend, at the RBC Canadian Open, Koepka was playing some of his best golf in months. He opened with a strong round, made 8 birdies in a single day, and found himself sharing the lead. This was supposed to be the perfect tune-up heading into the US Open. Then, in the middle of his 3rd round, something went wrong. Koepka started feeling pain creeping into his hand and arm. By the time he reached the back 9, he could barely keep a steady grip on the club. He needed a trainer to follow him around the course for the rest of his round. He still managed to finish, carting a 2-over round, but it dropped him 25 spots down the leaderboard. And then, on Sunday, just before his final round tee time, he made the call. He withdrew completely. He told reporters afterward that during his warm-up, the feeling in his ring finger and his pinky finger on his left hand simply disappeared. He said it felt numb, Like his fingers were not even connected to his hand anymore, like they would just come loose off the club at the top of his swing. He said he had never experienced anything like this before in his career, and that nobody around him, including his own team, could explain exactly what was happening. Now think about the timing of this. The US Open was just 4 days away. This is a man who has built an entire career, an entire legacy, around being a major championship specialist. And suddenly he cannot even guarantee he can hold a golf club properly. The golf world immediately started speculating. Was this the end of his tournament before it even started? Was this a serious nerve injury that could threaten more than just 1 week? Koepka underwent scans almost immediately. Doctors checked the vertebrae in his neck, the same area where he had a herniated disc back in 2021, fearing the worst, that this could be connected to that old injury flaring back up. The scans came back clear on that front, which was a relief, but it did not explain what was actually happening in his hand. His medical team came up with 2 possible explanations. One theory is a flare-up of the ulnar nerve, which can cause exactly the kind of numbness and weakness he described. The other theory is something called thoracic outlet syndrome, a condition where blood vessels or nerves get compressed between the neck and the shoulder. 2 different theories, no confirmed diagnosis, and a major championship starting in days. For a moment, it looked like Koepka might not even show up at Shinnecock Hills. He skipped his scheduled visit to the course on the Monday before the tournament, which only fueled more speculation that he was on the verge of withdrawing from the US Open entirely. But then, late Monday night, Koepka sent a message that changed the entire conversation. He confirmed that he was going to play. He said the plan was to be at Shinnecock Hills the next day to get ready. It was not a guarantee that he would be at full strength, but it was confirmation that the 2-time champion was not walking away from his title defense on this golf course without at least trying. When he finally did show up and started practicing, the early signs looked encouraging. He said the injury had been improving day by day, that the feeling in his fingers was slowly coming back, that the improvement from one day to the next had been significant. But here is the real question hanging over this entire tournament. Can a 5-time major champion, who just days ago could not properly grip a golf club, walk into the most demanding test in golf and actually compete for a trophy? Shinnecock Hills does not give out sympathy. The rough is brutal. The greens are unforgiving. And if Koepka's hand betrays him even once during a crucial swing, his tournament, and maybe his confidence heading into the rest of the season, could be over in an instant. This is a man chasing his 6th major championship, walking into the week with more uncertainty around his body than at any other point in his career. And as dramatic as that story is, it is not even the saddest one connected to this tournament. Because while Koepka is fighting to stay in the field, another player has already lost his battle completely, and his story is honestly heartbreaking. His name is Penge. He is one of the brightest young talents to come out of England in years. Earlier this year, he captured his very first title on the DP World Tour, and he was building what was shaping up to be the best season of his professional career. He had qualified for the US Open. He had a spot waiting for him at Shinnecock Hills. And then, just over a week before the tournament, he had to make one of the hardest decisions a professional athlete can make. He withdrew. Not because of a sudden injury picked up on the course, but because of something he has actually been quietly struggling with for 8 months. In his own statement announcing the decision, he explained that he and his team had decided he needed to step away, that his health had to come first while he worked toward figuring out exactly what has been wrong with him. He revealed that he has already gone through numerous scans and seen multiple specialists, and that they finally feel like they are getting close to understanding the issue. He made it clear this was not the end, that the plan is to come back once he is fully fit, but in the meantime, his spot in one of the biggest tournaments of his life is gone. 8 months of fighting through something privately, building toward a major championship appearance, and having to give it up days before walking onto the course. That is the human side of this story that gets lost in all the clickbait headlines. Because Penge withdrew, the field needed a replacement, and that spot went to Chandler Phillips, the first alternate in line, a 29-year-old from Texas who suddenly found himself with a golden ticket into the US Open because of another man's misfortune. That is the brutal reality of professional golf. One man's heartbreak is another man's opportunity, and it happens constantly behind the scenes of every single major championship. Now here is where the story gets even more layered, because the chaos around the field this week did not stop with just those two names. The path to actually completing this 156-man field was its own roller coaster. The USGA had left several spots open right up until the final days, reserved specifically for players who might climb into the top 60 of the world rankings through their performance at the Canadian Open. One man took full advantage of that opportunity in a way nobody saw coming. Bud Cauley, a player who has been grinding away on the PGA Tour for years, fighting back from a horrific car accident years ago that left him with broken ribs and a collapsed lung, finally broke through and won the RBC Canadian Open. In doing so, he didn't just pick up his biggest career victory, he punched his ticket straight into the US Open field, along with exemptions into future majors as well. After 239 career starts as a professional, his breakthrough moment came at exactly the right time to change the entire trajectory of his career. JT Poston also forced his way in through a similar path, climbing 56 spots in the world rankings after winning the Memorial Tournament, then immediately turning around and grinding through 33 holes in a single day during US Open qualifying because of weather delays, just to lock in his spot. Beyond that, 5 more alternates were pulled off the qualifying list to fill out the final roster, names that casual golf fans have probably never heard of, each of them getting the call that their dream tournament appearance was suddenly real. So when you step back and look at the full picture, this is not simply a story about one or two big names being in trouble. It's a story about an entire tournament field that has been unusually unstable in the lead up to the championship. A heartbreaking withdrawal from a rising star. A former champion walking in with a mystery injury nobody can fully explain. Alternates and late qualifiers scrambling into spots that opened up at the very last minute. And on top of all of that, you have other major names walking into Shinnecock under a completely different kind of pressure. Bryson DeChambeau, the defending champion from a previous US Open and a 2-time winner of this exact title, has had a rough start to his major season this year, missing the cut in his first 2 attempts and watching his odds for this tournament slide all the way down to 9th heading into the week. And Shinnecock Hills, with its constantly shifting, unpredictable wind off the Atlantic, is exactly the kind of course that exposes the parts of DeChambeau's game that have struggled the most in recent years. He wants certainty before every shot, and this golf course refuses to give certainty to anybody. Even 2 of the most recognizable names in the history of the sport, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, are notably absent from this year's field. Neither man currently holds the exemptions needed to get in automatically anymore, a quiet reminder of just how much time has passed and how much the era is shifting, even as the tournament tries to crown its next great champion. So here is where everything comes together. You have Scottie Scheffler chasing the rarest achievement in golf, attempting to complete the career Grand Slam on his 30th birthday, on Father's Day, in front of the entire golfing world. Standing in his way is one of the most unpredictable golf courses in America, a brutal test that has already created chaos before a single competitive shot has even been struck. You have Brooks Koepka, a 2-time champion on this very course, walking in with a hand injury that even doctors cannot fully diagnose, forcing everyone to wonder whether he can physically compete for the trophy he has lifted here before. You have Penge, a rising star forced to walk away from the tournament entirely after quietly fighting a health battle for 8 months. You have alternates and late qualifiers like Chandler Phillips and Bud Cauley living out career-changing moments because spots opened up that nobody expected. And you have former champions like DeChambeau walking in under serious pressure, with their form and their odds both working against them. This is why people are calling this one of the most chaotic build-ups to a US Open in recent memory. It is not just one piece of bad news. It is layer after layer of uncertainty stacking up right before the tournament tees off, and it all collides at Shinnecock Hills starting Thursday morning. Now here's what you need to be watching for over the next 4 days. Watch whether Koepka's hand holds up when the pressure actually hits, especially in the brutal, swirling wind that this course is famous for. Watch whether Scheffler can block out all of this outside noise and just play the golf he is capable of, because if he does, we could be witnessing history made on his 30th birthday. And watch how the rest of this unsettled field responds, because when this many storylines collide at once, on a golf course this unforgiving, anything can happen, and somebody nobody is talking about right now could walk away from Shinnecock Hills as the surprise story of the entire summer. If this breakdown gave you the full picture before anyone else covered it, do me a favor and smash that like button, drop a comment with who you think wins it this week, and subscribe so you do not miss the next update the moment the leaderboard starts shifting on Thursday. I will see you in the next one.